happen lots of places.
Good old Southern cooking.
Good old Southern cooking. Yeah.
We love fried chicken here.
They eat that stuff in other parts of the country.
Not like we cook
Not
it.
like we do. Not quite the same.
Not like we cook it. We cook with lots of fat. And,
Animal fat.
animal fat, we cook with a lot
We
of
do.
fat.
Another couple of things. Does anybody else have another one to share? Couple of other things. If you look at those states, there's probably been a high percentage of people that are limited resource. And that affects what you buy at the grocery store. There's something they call the poverty-obesity connection. When we don't have much money, we buy foods that are high in calories to get the energy, but we still may not exercise, those kind of things. And the other side of that is when people are impoverished, when they do get money for food, they may overeat.
Well, I just like food, what they're saying. The food that's good for you don't taste like the food that's not good for you. So I want the food that tastes good.
Well, and that's part of what we hope to do. Everybody's different. Part of what we do in this class is encouragement. So maybe this would be something you could pick up. Not meaning to pick on you,
Oh,
but
no, I know.
that
No,
you hit the
that-
nail on the head.
But that's, I mean, I do, because I don't do the Diet Cokes, I don't like them.
No, I don't want to.
I don't do all that.
But I don't even drink a Coke. No offense to anybody that does. He asked me if I wanted coffee. I said I've had my 2 cups. I need my water. But here's the thing, and this kind of goes back to the healthy eating's too expensive that I say. I tell people you learn to eat differently now. You wait till you've had 4 bypasses and the big one, and have to. If we've got the predisposition to it, it can happen, and it's unfortunate. And that's another reason why I like to share this. And I like to share it in a way that encourages people to find maybe just one change that fits for them, that will fit in their life.
And you were talking about the poverty part, when you go to the store, if you have less money, you're going to buy food that's going to carry you
Right.
a couple of days more so than just today's meal, and then do something that's different tomorrow.
It's a whole different way of thinking about how to feed your family, and I respect that that's a real issue people have.
We don't have a lot of farmers markets in some areas where we live. So have to drive a distance to get there.
And if you don't have your own transportation, that's another.
So we eat processed food.
We eat processed food.
One of the changes I've seen is people have they just didn't make it when I was growing up. I see lots of Roman noodles.
They are cheap.
Yeah, and kids love them, so parents want to fill the kids up, and they're going to buy something, going to fill them up.
And 25 cents or less a pound.
Yeah,
Oh,
they are. They're going to have
absolutely.
tons of Roman noodles.
Yes, I understand. I was a single mom for a time and was needing to watch. Yeah, we ate them. We do what we need to do to feed our family. But over time, I stopped putting all that pack of stuff in there, because that's really what
blows it up.
with the sodium.
Now, it's processed food like the canned beans, green beans, and all that stuff. Would you say if you like a can of green beans, if you wash them,
Yes, ma'am.
that would be better than?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What I'm saying, you pour that water off, you pour other water, pour it off.
But you,
When I said wash them, I mean.
if you rinse them, run water over them in the colander, it's gonna help. Absolutely. Green beans naturally have just a little bit of sodium, not much, it's put in there. And there are times of year when, and this may not be something everybody buys all the time, chopped peppers and onions frozen in a bag, are cheaper than the fresh, if we're talking about the winter time. So, you know, we don't tell people don't ever use those things. At the end, I'm going to tell you some other programs we have, and there's one, if there's people with children in the home that are a limited resource, that helps them learn about those things. We'll talk about that. So yes, you mentioned the transportation. That's also an issue. And it goes two ways with this as well. We hop in our car, because everything's, like you said, the farmer's markets are close. If you got the car, you hop in it and go. You don't get on a bicycle and ride or walk like we used to. All right. Any questions or anything anybody wants to add?
Clear sodas are better for you than the other sodas?
Well, they don't have the color in them.
Yeah, the sodas.
Yeah. So, it is best to try to have fewer of them as step one. Fewer of any of them. Cutting back one a day for a month and getting used to how that feels. And then cutting back another one. It's rough to step on toes. And then eventually trying to find a way to drink real water. And I'll tell you, I didn't like water. Here's the thing. For me, the reason that I said I got to drink water, I started having lots of sinus infections. The building that I work in, if we had enough of us that had this problem, we could have a class action lawsuit in the county meeting that day. But we don't have enough of it. I worked in that building 20 years nearly now. 3 months after I went to work in that building, I started having sinus problems. And I lived in Tennessee all my life. You know, people talk about it's worse in West Tennessee. But I knew I went to get allergy tested and, you know, all these things, trying to find a quick fix, I guess you could say. And they determined it wasn't a normal thing that was causing it. There was something, we couldn't open the windows in our building. So I'm stuck in drinking all this air that's just recirculating. And they said the best thing for you to do is start drinking water. And now, it was like, I got to have some more water. People can change. It doesn't mean it's easy, and that may not be the thing you're going to be concerned with. But again, just finding one step you can do. But yes, ma'am, to answer your question, the clear are better because that's one less additive in that mixture. Thank you for asking. Anybody else have a question? I'm happy to answer some others on food. I'll soon get y'all out of here in that hour or so. All right. So I want to talk just briefly about how glucose works in the body. Good old glucose is made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. That's what it looks like. Not meaning to get into a chemistry lesson here. I am not a chemistry teacher, but that's what it looks like. It's a simple sugar, and it has to get in our body's cells for them to have energy. They provide us energy, okay? That's what they do. They have to get in the cell to be able to do it. Teeny, 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 microscopic organisms. Insulin, insulin is a hormone produced by the pancreas. It regulates glucose in our bloodstream. Now, perhaps you all have heard that, knew that, could preach on that because you deal with it. But it is what we have to have for that glucose to do its job. Right? That's what we have to have, made by the pancreas. You know, the human body is amazing. So, the thing about it, a way to look at it, I like this graphic, it's really simple. Insulin, you can see this eye here. Insulin's kind of like the doorman. He opens the door to let the glucose get in the cells. That's what he does. When we have these different types of diabetes, type 1, used to always be called juvenile diabetes, and there still is the Juvenile Diabetes Association. We're going to talk about how these are different, perhaps just as a reminder. Type 1, type 2, and gestational. So in type 1, the door can't be open because, as you see there, our insulin, our doorman is not there.
Okay.
He's not there. Nobody's there to open the door to let the glucose get into the cells and do its job. Okay? In type 2 diabetes, the door's jammed. The insulin's having a hard time getting that door open. Y'all see the difference there? I like it because it's so basic, so practical. It's easy for me to understand. And in pre-diabetes, I didn't have that on my other list, but the door is starting to get jammed. Okay, it's starting. It's headed that way. Maybe not completely jammed. It might even be a little more open than that, but it's headed that way. So what I wanted to look at a little bit further, just as a reminder, with type 1 diabetes, what can you already know and tell me about type 1 diabetes?
Because it's considered to be juvenile, then I would think that the child is either born or quickly after birth, you find out that the child is diabetic and that child is taking insulin from birth.
Usually it is developed after birth, but not always, usually after. And what can happen, oftentimes that child has some type of major body issue. A friend of my son's had some type of infection. They put him on an antibiotic. He developed diabetes. Totally, not anything they were doing. The parents were doing what they were supposed to do. A dear friend of mine, they were in about second grade, a dear friend of mine developed it at age 20 in college. She was sleeping all the time, which was not productive when you're in college. I mean, you do it anyway, but so for a while they didn't notice it until she crashed. Because if we go back, her body cells were not getting glucose to do what they're supposed to do. She crashed, blood sugar being low. Okay? So that's the juvenile. So it is something that a few are born with, most develop by just happenstance.
Can it come later, or is it, because my husband was, and I think he was like 30, 31. And I want to think they said he was juvenile diabetes.
Yeah, it's possible. It is possible. Typically, it's earlier than that, but everybody's body is different, so and that would be probably more rare, but possible. Okay? All right, so with type 2, couple of things with this, heredity, overweight are two of the primary things that cause this. I know a gentleman, he's as thin as a rail. He has type 2 diabetes. It's hereditary. His father had it. Everybody had it, so he's got it. So it's not always. Now, what's ironic and sad about type 2 diabetes is now children, young children, are being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Their body is making some insulin. It's just not able to do its job, as opposed to the other one where their pancreas does not make insulin at all. And again, we talk about playing the screen time, for whatever reason, not getting enough physical activity. That's playing a huge role in that. In our school system, they used to not have children with type 2 diabetes, that they needed a nurse to administer their medication. Now, they have to have those. I don't know the number of children. In the past, I knew a number. All I know is that it's growing. They have them in a couple probably in every school, elementary. No, we're not talking high school, we're talking elementary school. Pre-diabetes, we've talked about. With gestational diabetes, what happens is the body does not work to get the glucose into the cells. What people need to know, though, if a woman develops the gestational diabetes, she is at greater risk for having type 2. That increases her risk for that. So that's another reason that, after she has her child, she needs to get back to a good pre-pregnancy weight. All right. So we've talked about it. This is where I step on toes. But it's what Stop Diabetes aims to give people tools and encouragement to do. Lose weight, get active, and enjoy a heart-healthy life, because we talked about how they all go together. But this is a great plan to help people reduce their risk that they may have for developing diabetes. So, we'll come back full circle to Stop Diabetes and the program that we've talked about. The beautiful thing from my perspective is with the addition of Union University's School of Pharmacy program to what we're doing. They have the ability, they have the knowledge, the skills, and they wrote a grant to get testing for people. All the blood work testing for people in this program. A testing at the beginning of the program and the end, whatever the group deems that length of time to be. We want at least 3 months because we want to see, did this intervention make a difference for people? Did it make a difference? Primarily because we want to help those people, but we also want to see, can we take this program and other people implement it in other places in our region. So, testing to time. You all may have health insurance that will allow you to do that, but there's a lot of people out there that would be helpful for, just to know, do they have it or not. And when they do that, there's a social worker and one of the School of Pharmacy people that talk to them about where they are right now. If there was a person that's blood sugar was sky high, they'd probably send them on to the hospital right then and there when they do the testing. Participants are going to receive user-friendly information. If it is not user-friendly, I don't want to be bothered with it, first of all. But it's really encouragement to try to implement some lifestyle change. It's not about changing everything, because humans are not going to do that, right? But finding something that you can change or do a little bit differently. That's what we're trying to do. But then, be of encouragement to the others in the group and to other people that you know. You might know people that can't participate in the program for whatever reason, but you could share the information with them and even encourage others outside of the group that might participate. That's it, essentially. Okay? It's about an hour-long meeting, however often it would be. In terms of the testing, they try to do that starting no later than noon, because it's better if people have fasted. They say for at least 8 hours, but they say if it's been 4. If you had to have something first thing in the morning and it was at noon, that's as long as you tell them. They would make a note of that. So those are a couple of things to be aware of. And the other thing, this is kind of the fun challenge part, I guess. Union will give, I think we did Kroger, a $50 Kroger gift card to the person who recruits the most people to the testing. So there's a little challenge we'll throw out there for you. Now we hope that those are people who can participate in the whole program, but we want them to get the testing. Okay? So.
Can all of this take place on this site,
Yes, sir.
the testing?
They come in with a bunch of lab coat people, and, they would come into a room like this. They might need a few other rooms where they could talk to people one-on-one without, other.
All of this is within the 1 hour
Now,
timeframe.
that testing will take a person less than an hour, but it probably might need to be spread out over a little bit longer time period, and we would work with you all to get people, not necessarily scheduled in a specific time, but so that they are here the least amount of time. Or we say, everybody come at 11:30 next Saturday, and we may be here 2 hours or so. Whoever goes first can go on up. So.
And what's the length of the program? What's the time? The amount of periods that we'll meet? 6?
It would be probably, if we did all of it for like 1 hour time slots, which most people don't want to do more than an hour, there are up to 9 sessions. That does not include 2 times of testing, but that could be more of a come and go, less structured thing. You know, if the group said, well, we'd rather do an hour and a half or 2 hours and do it less times, you know, we would work with you all and what you felt met your congregation's needs and any of those that you might want to invite. It is an investment in time, but our health is important.
We have not discussed this with the congregation.
Sure.
So this is new information that you're sharing now.
Absolutely, I understand.
One of the things that we thought about is to schedule, if we're interested, to schedule this on the Saturday that the church session meets, so that 5 or 6 of us are here already, and others could join us after the session. Normally, that's the first Saturday in each month. We could begin as early as 11 with this activity and be finished by noon or 12:30 once a month over the next 6 to 9 months. But we don't want to twist any arms.
Right, absolutely.
You'll have to massage us into deciding what we want to do.
Absolutely, I understand. And this is strictly, it's a volunteer program, so.
Possibility of, when you were talking about maybe coming off the medication. So the life change style, the food and all, the exercise would make that happen.
I can't
Depending
promise
on
on the person.
right, everybody's different.
Right, everybody's different. You know, the thing that we tell people is, if you implement the changes, you may not get, each person may not get off the medication, but their health is going to be improved anyway. They're going to feel better. I didn't like starting to drink water, but once I didn't have as many sinus infections, I was pretty happy about that, Does that answer your question? It's not a given. So, I guess you could say it's worth a try if you want to invest the time and see what you can do. And some of that would be, if you would have to, in 6 to 9 months, you'd have to make drastic changes. Drastic changes we don't often stick with. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, I don't drink as many drinks as I used to, so
Yeah.
I've given them up for a minute.
Mm.
But, if I could just come off, not totally not taking it
Right.
twice a day,
Mhm.
I'd be happy.
Yeah.
I take a pill in the morning and one in the afternoon, but I hadn't changed anything, so they don't make it
Right.
that ain't helping.
And I can't promise you it would happen, it's probably not gonna happen quickly, but, I hope you'll think it's worth a try. Did you have a question?
Would part of that session involve, food preparation or menus and so forth, because that would be my interest.
Right.
Okay.
The sessions that I do, and typically I do the first 3 sessions, they are